Hey guys, welcome to RC Video Reviews. It is Friday. We're back on Fridays, November 3rd, 2023. And we are in the magic months. It's happening. We're in the holiday season. I've said before, Halloween is the gateway holiday, and that punts us into the holiday season. So I'm excited. I love the holiday season. It's always good. Always good. So I want to see, it looks like we've had a little bit of an active chat going, and of course I lost my chat window. I don't know where it went. Let's see if I can refresh this. There we go. Hobie was in first, so good job, Shane. It's glad to see him back in the game a little bit. HB Jeff got in second. Freddie, fast Freddie, that's like slow to middling Freddie now. I identifies first as Fred. That's funny, dude. Identifies first. FD from Greek is here. How you doing? How you doing, Photius? Good to see you. T Evans, I see we're back to Fridays. Yep, football season is over, man. It's kind of bittersweet. Bittersweet. My oldest son is a senior in high school, and it's his last year, and he's finished. They finished the season. He finished his last game, and that's going to be it. So football is over. We have one more. We have baseball. So we have baseball coming. So I'm excited for that. Elias is here. How you doing, Elias? Good to see you. Wolfie, good evening. How are you? D. Griffiths says hello. Good to see you. Dan, thanks for joining. Football must be over. Team did okay. You know, it wasn't great. Wasn't terrible. It was just kind of middle, middle. They won some. They lost some. It was okay. It was, what was more important is seeing them play and work together as a team and mature as young men and get out there and exercise, and learn some sportsmanship. So they did, on that front, I'd say we succeeded. We had a killer season. I'd say we did well. Laura Harth is here. Hello, Miss Laura. How are you? Glad to see you. Stan Heaton. Hello from Arkansas. How are you doing, Stan? Robert is here. It's not in the syrup-induced coma up there, Robert. Good to see you, my friend. Adrian Henry is here. Hello. The David Knutz from the great state of Texas is here. How are you doing, David? Made it. Ariel Ofek says hello from Tel Aviv. Well, thanks for joining, Ariel. I know a lot going on over there, so thanks for taking the time. Hopefully this will be a respite for you, hopefully. And then let's see, Louis Cosme, first time here from Jersey. What's up? How you doing, Louis? Glad you could make it. Good. Looks like everyone's checked in. I'll remind you, if you pop in and you haven't said hello yet, say hello in the chat so we know who's here. Anyway, I thought we'd do a weekend review as we normally do. And I got to tell you guys, it started with the Avanti Maiden and the Avanti V2. And I gotta tell you, man, those Avantis, I don't want to say I was concerned about buying that plane. I wasn't sure though, because the original Avanti was really good, a really good jet. And I think that's it right there. That's it flying. That's the Avanti. So the original Avanti is a really good jet. And I am not a big jet type, right? And my main objection to jets has to do, and I owe you guys an apology. I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. But my main objection to jets has to do with not how they look in the air, because jets, they just look really cool in the air, period. Jets look really cool flying. I don't know. Everyone that I've ever been at a field with, when the jet goes, they all watch. Everybody likes to watch the jets. So they definitely look cool. But the big issue I've had with jets is the flight time. It doesn't seem to matter what battery you put on the things. The flight time on most of them is like, 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes. And the Avanti, and of course the X-Fly Alpha Jet, and the Avanti, they're both putting up times like 6 and 7 minutes. And I was not being kind to that battery. I took my F-22 out, my big F-22, the 90 millimeter one that I have. And that thing, it's 3 minutes, man. It's like 3.5 minutes. You're up and down, and that's it. And you can do a few things, but it's a lot of work to not get a lot of flight time. And that's what I love about the Avanti. The flight time is a big starter. And then the other thing is they don't cripple hammer it with the power. That's another issue I've had with certain jets in the past, is the power is just kind of, it's enough. It flies technically, but it's not, robust, I guess is the best way to put it. And I think the Avanti does a fantastic job of striking the balance between power consumption and efficiency. So you get both a powerful enough motor where you can do what you want to do and have a good time with it, do your maneuvers, have fun, and still get some flight time out of it. And then finally, I think the last big one for me on the Avanti is it's so stable. It is a legit stable airframe. So very, very precise. And I can see myself having a lot of fun flying that in a sport manner, right? Just a sport style flying, and just working on precision. Like right there, I'm flying inverted, maybe working on the slow 4-point rolls, doing the Cuban eights and the standard sport aerobatic stuff. And they are really, really cool for big air. And I wasn't wrong. There's a knife edge. There it goes on the knife edge. I wasn't wrong about demand. They're out already. I was right. I called that. If you that one's out. It's out of stock already. They just got the shipment in. I think it's been 2 weeks and they're out of stock. So keep an eye out for that one. I would say with the holiday season coming up, if you can locate one and you're in the market for a jet, the Avanti, solid choice. And the other thing that I would say about it, this might shock some of you, so brace yourselves. It would be a good starter jet. And I know a lot of you are like, are you off your rocker, dude? What are you talking about? Let me explain myself. The ground handling on this jet, if you guys remember the F-16 video that I did, the 64 millimeter FMS F-16, the ground handling on that was not great because it didn't have a rudder. So once the nose came off the nose wheel, you didn't have a rudder. You couldn't steer it. So ground handling, not great on that one. This one handles on the ground very, very well. Landing wise, very docile, as you can see right there. You put the flaps down, you kind of point it down and just do a little flare at the end, and it comes down and lands. It's got the trailing link suspension, the oleo suspension wheels, and they're functional. Like they seem to be weighted correctly. I know that's a big problem I've had on a lot of jets where they're not weighted correctly. So you really have to push down in order to get any action. On the Avanti V2, they've done a great job making them functional. They're not too soft, not too hard. It's kind of like the middle bear, right? They do the job. They absorb shock, but they're not so soft. They bottom out unless you really prang it. And on that one, I haven't really pranged it in. I also, from the looks department in the sky, it's very easy to see. Very distinctive silhouette in the sky. Even though the color scheme is a little bit darker, the silhouette really lends itself well to flying. Unlike certain other planes that are real skinny and flat, even like the F-22. The F-22 gets really skinny sometimes when you're flying that one. This one's always got a very recognizable profile. So it may seem like like an odd thing to say, but I would say the Avanti V2 would be a very, very good starter EDF. And not only is it a good starter EDF, it can progress with you. So you'd have to be a very, very highly skilled pilot to outfly that plane. That's all I would say. So there you go. The Avanti V2, definitely a winner in my book. And at this point in the game, the only thing I think I can really say is that I expect I will have an Avanti in the hangar at all times because it's just a fun little change of pace. It's fun to fly a jet. They look great and they sound good and they're very precise. So a couple of updates on the Avanti. I did go ahead and add an A3 Super 4. And for those of you who are familiar with the airframe, on the Avanti V1, they had the nose wheel 3D printed support. I did find one for the Avanti V2. The people out there on Thingiverse already got active on that, created a reinforcement for the nose wheel, and I did install one. So I did put that on the plane. I think next time I take it out, I'll probably give you a quick look at that on the video. But overall, yeah, it's a winner, man. It's just a good jet. Good power, good ground handling, easy to take off, easy to land, looks good in the sky, good flight time. I don't know what else you can ask for. And it's actually reasonably priced. You might say $400, are you crazy? But that's everything, man. All you do is stick a receiver and a battery and you're done. And it's so easy to put together. They've even done all that work for you. So yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. Okay, so the question I asked in that video, is the Freewing Avanti V2 the best EDF jet you can buy? I'm going to go out on a limb and say, I think it's definitely up there, right? I definitely think that one is up there. Although, I haven't flown every EDF. I've flown a lot. And I think this one is very, very good. So, based on the other experiences I've had, I'm basing it against a larger reference library of EDFs that I've flown. This one performs exceptionally well. So I think that's a yes. I think it's right up there among the best. The next video was the T-Motor AM600 combo. And I got to tell you guys, man, the T-Motor stuff, I have 4 of them. So I bought 3 before I got sponsored by T-Motor. If that should tell you anything. And you guys that been hanging around for a while, you know how I feel. You know how I feel about the Sunny Sky stuff, right? You know that. I like Dual Sky, but the T-Motor stuff, what I'm saying about T-Motor is that when I look at motor performance, if I put it on a tier, I'm going to say that those 3, T-Motor, Sunny Sky, Dual Sky, they're on a very similar price for performance and quality tier. That's what I would say. That's what I'd say. So the T-Motor stuff. Oh, and I also really very, very much like how they work together. Oh, how about that? There's the video right there of me taking the X-Power 22, which I happen to have right here. That's what came off that plane, and it was replaced with the T-Motor. So anyway, yeah, the motor and the ESC work really well together. And that says something, you know, because I'm not going to lie, I've been fighting a little bit with ESCs. The 85-incher, I still have not taken the ZTW out. So I still need to do that. But I've had some battles with ESCs, and it's not that they're bad, but they do weird things. Like on the 85-incher, I had a Funfly V5, whatever, the Hobbywing Funfly V5. I had one of those just stop working. It just I had to land the plane. So I don't know why. No motor, but I had power. So weird. And power came from the flight pack, right? There's a flight pack and an RX pack. My servo power came from the RX pack. So anyway, Fred was there when that happened. He actually saw it happen. I had to dead stick that one in and never figured out what the heck happened. So that got yanked. That got yanked right away. So anyway, so far I can tell you that my experience with T-Motor has been very positive. I like the way they work together. Now, I told you guys, okay, so that covers the AM600. I've got data, though. We're going to cover some data. And then, of course, we did the PilotJam. So that covers the week in review. Now, I told you guys I owed you an apology, and let me explain myself on the apology. Dave and I went out flying the Avanti and the Laser, and I did the video for both the Avanti Maiden and the Laser on the same day. And then when I got back and started working on the video, I noticed that it was really shaky, like really shaky. And I thought, man, I hope Dave's okay. That was honestly the first thing that came to my mind. I hope Dave's okay. I don't know what's going on, but I've never seen it like that. So I did the video, put it up there, and my apology is for the shaky video. Okay, that I'm apologizing for that. The good news is we figured out what happened. Somewhere along the line, we don't know where. Hold on, I'm going to get it and show you. We will go to the big camera. It just bothers me because we make so much effort to try and get this stuff right for you guys. But right here on the camera, here's the camera we use to film. And right here, there's a little switch, and that little switch says Power OIS. Now, this camera has what's called dual stabilizer. It's got an internal stabilizer in the body, and this particular lens has a stabilizer in the lens. Well, that was turned off. The stabilizer in the lens was turned off, and that's why we had shaky video. I don't know why. It's a very difficult switch to hit, but somehow along the way, in between me and Dave, it got turned off. So I apologize for that. Dave didn't know to look for that. Now I've taught him where the indicator is, so he now knows. And my apologies for the shaky video. We try very hard to put quality product out, but there was not much I could do about that. I tried fixing it in post, but when I tried applying the stabilization tools that you have in DaVinci, it just made the whole thing kind of shaky. It was terrible. So I turned it off and went with the raw footage. So I just wanted to apologize for what happened and let you guys know that's obviously not what you'd should expect over the long run. We like our flight videos to be high quality. So anyway, let me check comments and then we're going to get going. So let's see. David says praying for everyone in Israel. Yeah, I am too. I pray for peace. I hope that the resolution comes and yeah, I'll just leave it at that. It's politically sensitive, but I really I don't like seeing innocent people have their lives ended early. It's very sad to me to see that. So let's see. Rambo Flight Ken says hello from Arizona. Oh man, they're bummed out in Arizona too. I watched it. I don't know if you're a baseball fan. Hopefully not. That was rough, man. Poor Diamondbacks got. No, I won't say it. Wolfie, welcome from Illinois. Mark Drury, hey from the UK, and hi Rob. So good. Everyone's saying hello and being very friendly. I appreciate that. And look at that, Mitch Gentry hit the tip jar. I appreciate you, Mitch. Thank you for doing that. Always nice when you guys hit the tip jar like that. I do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we can get started. I've got some really cool stuff for you guys tonight. It's practical stuff that everyone can use. And you guys are going to get a little bit of an education because Dave and I actually got a little bit of an education. So what I want to do is talk a little bit about the concept of power testing. Now, if you watch the videos I make, you know that for a while I used to do the Judge series where I'd put motors on a bench, a thrust stand and run tests. Now, what happened, the reason all this came up is because I put the AM670 combo on the 70-inch slick. And the idea was, the question I'm asking myself is, can a power plant designed for a smaller plane, a 6S model, work in a plane that's designed for 12S? And I went ahead and installed the AM670. We went out and flew it, did the maiden. Everything was fine. We didn't have any real issues. The power, it was a little low, but it wasn't, I guess the best way to describe it is it doesn't do a whole shot out of a hover. That's probably the best way, but it's plenty fast to do your maneuvers. It's plenty fast to climb and go vertical and do all that stuff. But it's just a little bit softer on the power than, say, even that laser that we're just about to fly with the AM600. It's a power to weight ratio question, right? You guys understand that concept. So the thing about it is that I would stress to you guys, because when I first went out and flew that plane, I did not put it on a watt meter. And part of the reason for that is, well, I'm like, it's quality stuff. It's T-motor. It's predictable. We know it works on that plane right there. Or sorry, the Edge 260. We know that. It's been, I have the AM 270 on that plane. I know it flies fine. So I never really bothered with it. But Dave showed up and he had his meter handy and he said, hey, maybe we should put that motor on a meter. And part of the reason for the question was the motor, they recommend three different prop sizes. They recommend a 16x8, a 17x8, and an 18x8 or something. Maybe it was 17, 18.8, and 18.10. That's what it was. But you guys know that you can trade pitch for diameter, right? So I thought, well, what if instead of doing an 18.10, we did a 19.8? So just went from an 18.8 to a 19.8. I thought that might make a lot of sense for this plane. Give me a little bit more torque. I don't need any more speed. And maybe that would be good. And then Dave correctly said, yeah, maybe we should put that on a watt meter and check it out. So we did that. And with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys. We did some extra material. We did some extra work for you guys. So I'm going to show you the material. But the main thing that I want you to take away as you're watching this is that it is important to run these tests. And I would also say it's important to understand your gear. So we understood the gear, and that is what caused us to raise certain questions. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead. I have two video clips for you. One is a little bit longer. The next one's a little bit shorter, but we're going to cover the longer one first, okay? And the longer one started at the field. So let's get over there, and we will run that one right now. Here we go. Sorry, wrong one. Here's the right one. Here we go. Since we had the watt meter out, I decided we'd do something special for the PilotJam this week. I added a 19.8 badass wood prop to the T-motor AM670, also running a 6L 6200 and the AM116 ESC. So we're just going to do a quick little watt meter test for the AM116, the T-motor 670, and the 19.8 badass wood prop. So here we go. Everybody ready? All right, here we go.
Good.
That was 1520. That's about the same power the 600 was making on the other one.
1520.
So I'm just going to make a quick comment there. 1500 watts. That is almost identical. In fact, I think the AM600 hit close to 1600, if not just over. So that's alarming to me, right? Because you're talking about a 60-inch class motor, much smaller, 16.8 prop versus an 18.8 prop. So that was alarming. And this is the point where it's important to know your numbers, right? To have an understanding, because this helped us decide, hey, what do we do from here?
Push me back.
Yeah.
It pushed me freaking back.
That was
wait a minute, it can't be. It's got to be. Let's do it again.
I know.
Let's do that again.
The prop's going the right way, right?
Yeah.
Let's let it roll forward up against the stand. There we go.
Yes.
Interesting that was only 1570.
That's got to be more like 2,000 watts or something
interesting,
like that.
Interesting. All right, here we go again.
Go ahead.
I can feel the wires getting warm too. I wonder if there's...
No, I've done my Vanquish, which is 3,000. So, I mean, you don't want to run
That's lower than the 600.
There's something going on, because that should
we
not
are calibrated.
Yeah.
I know I'm calibrated. I'm going to run the calibration again.
Go ahead.
And this is a 6-cell battery. It is. It's a brand new. Well, maybe that's part of it. It's a brand new 6L battery.
Yeah,
let me touch on that just a little bit. There are schools of thought out there that say when it comes to batteries, you should run a few cycles through them at lower levels to kind of break them in. I personally have never subscribed to that, but I do know that some people say that. The only reason I don't subscribe to it is because I've never seen any empirical evidence saying, yeah, this is a fact. So that's why I've never bothered with it. But that was on my mind. Like, wait a minute, this is a brand new battery. I wonder if the battery's not putting out correctly. You know, I thought maybe that might be it. So we'll get back to the video.
100 watts. Now, I don't know. That just doesn't, it doesn't. And this battery was freshly charged. We're still recording, but we're not recording.
No, it's a brand new battery. Just charged it.
And you just charged it.
Yeah. Let me see.
It should be around the 2000, at least 1900 or something. My hat blew to hell, and it pushed me back.
Poor Dave. We almost knocked him over.
Yeah, it hit you probably, right, the hat?
I'm gonna change the battery. Change that. And this.
Yeah, there you go. Let me look at that too. Put the camera on that.
That's 419, man. 419, 42.
Hold on, I can't see.
I know it's really hard in the sunlight.
Yeah,
like that.
I can't see.
But it is. It's 419. I read it. So
419.
it's where it needs to be.
Okay.
So we'll try it. I'm just swapping the battery out just to make sure I didn't make a mistake.
I'm gonna take some of this film so you can cut it and mess it, you know, whatever you want to do with it. Some for the PilotJam. Oops, I got Charlie's face on that one.
Radio's on. Throttle is cut. I also kind of want to calibrate it again. Let me just calibrate it real quick. Well, I shouldn't need to do it again, but I'm going to do it anyway. No, I had the throttle locked. Oops. All right, here we go. You holding on? Okay, here we go. Powering on.
Flight locked.
Okay. That's been recalibrated. All right.
So what's the voltage that we read right now?
25. 25.
25. That's what it's supposed to read right there. Okay.
All right. We're ready to go. We just recalibrated the ESC, put a fresh battery on. Let's just double check our work and see what happens. We're looking for something. Now, before I run it, the reason I wanted to calibrate again was because even though I knew I did it, there's always the possibility you got something wrong, like you didn't go all the way up or something. So if you don't know about calibrating your ESCs, what I would recommend you learn to do it, because it's really I calibrate every single ESC on every plane. Now, some planes, I've had ESCs that calibrate every single time you power it on, meaning once you unlock, you have to run the throttle all the way up and then all the way back down, and then it lets you operate. And that's fine. But at the end of the day, when it comes to calibrations on your ESCs, make sure you do it, because it could be off a little bit. And this was me checking the boxes to make sure that we took every reasonable step. And this is another brand new 6200 6S. That's what's in the plane right now. 1,000, I would think.
Yeah, you better believe it.
All right, here we go. You ready?
Got it.
Not making it. 1520.
Well, then that's what it's doing, man.
That's what it's doing. Might have to wonder if the prop. I wonder if the prop profile. Now I kind of want to put another prop on it.
What is the pitch of that
It's
prop?
19.8.
And the other one is 18.8.
18.8, but I didn't measure the other one.
We're going to have to measure
You're going to have to measure it now. What was the amperage? Did you catch the amperage? Let's check the amperage.
Well, it's let's do it again, but it's in the video.
It's only 70 amps.
Well,
there's got to be a lot more headroom in it than that.
it's doing what that other one is doing.
Yeah, but that's a 670. That's a 600.
I know, but it's the same wattage. It's 1,500 watts.
I know.
So
that doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. Now you are turning a bigger prop here.
I know, but it should still load it up.
It's loaded, so the wattage is the same, But since we got a bigger prop here, our thrust is higher here than there, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's not like apples to apples. So, well, that is interesting. If the motor is rated for 2,000 watt, you got a lot of room to continue to do more prop. But you have a great time. You got a great flight time right now, and your flight performance is gorgeous. So only for just for the, to know what the other prop would do, I would change it, but this is flying great.
I want to see what the rating is. There's a 670 motor. Let's see here.
And we still at 24.7 volts.
Man, this should be doing, the high power mark on this is 2380 watts.
There you go.
27, that's for the 480. And 520, the 520 kV is 27.7. It's 1,200 more watts.
Well, there you go.
All right, so here's the nature of the concern, right? I've got a motor putting out 1,500 watts on, and it should be doing 2,700 watts with an 1810 prop. Keep in mind, this is a 19.8 prop, so that is the nature of the concern.
Well, I've never put a watt meter on the laser either.
Well, we're gonna
have to do that now
because it flies great. Now let's fly it now and see if it flies good or something is going on. Yeah,
there's something wrong here, man. There's something not right about this.
Yeah, absolutely. I expected to see at least 2,000 watts, at least, and more. 2,200 or something like that.
I do not know what's going on there. It's calibrated. That's a fresh battery. It's there. There's nothing in the ESC that's going to limit power like that.
Nope. Now, there is a bit of a voltage drop, but it doesn't matter because of the tiny wires here. They're smaller, but it doesn't matter. I've done my Vanquish, 3,000 watts. So,
all right,
now,
so Dave just said, there's the tip right there. He said, I've done my Vanquish 3,000 watts. And if Dave said he got 3,000 watts, I believe him. But here, for those of you who like to monkey around with this stuff, he's talking about a 10S setup. So keep that in mind. 10S setup. Keep that in mind.
That is 10 cell, but it's still 3,000 watts at 75 amps. So that shouldn't be it. I mean, they get a little hot, but we're not flying it with it.
Well, now I want to go home and put a watt meter on my other 670 to see what it's doing.
Absolutely.
Because it could be the spec is overstated.
It could be, or we can load it more. It can be loaded more if it can be just loaded more.
Yeah.
But if
you guys aren't following this, Dave's got dreams of sticking a 28-inch prop on this plane and big wheels. So he's like, man, you got headroom on there. Let's put a big prop on it. That's where Dave's mind was. It was very funny. I loved it.
Flying good and it's correct, and then that's great because this is why you're having so much flight time because you're not pushing.
Well, with the bigger prop, I only flew it for 6 minutes, so I lost about a minute.
Okay.
So, but that makes sense. Bigger prop. I guess further testing is required. I gotta get the other 670 motor and run a watt meter test on that and see what it's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. That is kind of confusing because we expected to see about 2,000 to 2,200 watts on this.
So that's coming in a little bit light. So I'm gonna go fly it again. We're gonna fly it anyway. I'm gonna fly it again. So it's not it's not that you can't fly it. It's just not quite making the power that we think it probably should. Yep. For 6S, especially the 19-inch prop. That's the bigger prop.
Yeah, it's interesting. Something's going on. Don't know what, but.
And that's the T-Motor ESC, the T-Motor motor, and that's a brand new battery. So.
And it pulls, it flies great. It has unlimited vertical, so that's just funny. That's something. Something funny.
We'll do more investigation. So.
And then again, the watt meter. We may say, well, my watt meter's got a problem, but I test my Vanquish with a 3,000 watt motor with it, so. Yeah. It's more than this is pulling.
I think another meter will help us.
We can verify. Compare close. 2 meters. Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, I'm going to go fly it.
All right.
Hope you guys are enjoying the Pilot Jam. Take it easy.
Hey, hasta la vista.
All right. So we upgraded the watt meter. It's now a 200 amp watt meter, and I expect a different result this time.
Now, before I show you guys this one, because what happened was I ended up missing a clip when I made this video. So I'm going to go back now. I just got through telling you I upgraded the watt meter, and I did go back to the carbon fiber 18.8 prop. But before I did, I put a new watt meter on the 19/8 prop. So let me show you that first, and then we will come back to this clip. So hang tight. Here we go.
Here we go.
Okay, if you notice right there, 2,959 watts and 140 amps. And I'd already learned that I was going over 150 amps because when I hit 3,000 watts, all the numbers returned to zero. So what I realized right then and there, I needed more than 150 amp ESC. So this is the 19x8 badass prop. And you can see that with this watt meter, 140 amps, 2,959 watts, and it's pulling like a freight train. So it was thankfully not a problem with the motor or the ESC. Okay, now we can go back to the original, and I have to slide ahead here. We'll go back to the original one, and we will pick that up back in the garage after changing the prop out to the 18.8 carbon fiber. So here we go. We're going to go back in the garage and get that one going.
Because I've already done a little bit of testing, I changed the prop back to the carbon fiber 18.8 prop. So 18.8 prop, this is the 6200 Liperior battery. Okay, here we go.
That sounds way different than it did in the field by far.
2,300 watts. It's right where it's supposed to be. Okay. So motor's good. Motor ESC combo, I think we're good to go. And the battery's delivering the power. So we're good with that.
We need to know why my watt meter why was it being held back with my watt meter? And I got a feeling it's the connectors, not the watt meter. Those connectors I got on there, the converters. So let's bring it and see.
Yep, let's plug in the other watt meter and give it a go. Same test. We just changed the watt meter. And at this point, this is where I suspect the problem resides, somewhere in the watt meter or the connectors on the watt meter. So here we go, second test.
That is good, dude. Something was wrong at the field. I don't know what.
It said 1,500 watts.
Well, but it pulled exactly the same.
I know, but it stopped at 1,500 watts.
That is weird. That is something.
You didn't see that?
No, I can't.
Let's do it, 1,500 watts. Here we go. We'll do it.
Well, it's in the camera. It's recorded, so
well,
go ahead.
All right, here we go. Yeah, it's 1,500 watts.
I'm gonna have to look for the specs on this thing on the meter.
Yeah.
And
well, I'm glad
to see if something is limiting it, or it's broke. I'm gonna use it on something I already had used it. Like my Vanquish, next time we're out of the field, we'll test it there. And if it does this, then we'll smash it.
We'll smash it. All right.
All right.
We have one other test. We're going to run a quick little thrust test on this motor and prop combo.
And that is our thrust measuring device. We are going to pull that whole shelf right off the wall. And if that shelf is attached to the wall, we are going to pull the wall down too. Here we coming up to the throttle.
All right, 18 pounds of thrust is what I saw.
18 pounds?
18 pounds.
And this airplane weighs,
10
pounds, so that's almost a 2 to 1.
Almost. Well, 1.8 to 1, right?
18 pounds. Let's do the math. We should sit and do the math in a minute to see how many what kind of watt pounds. Because we know we're almost 2 to 1. We're 1.8 to 1 because plane weighs.
Well, we're 230 watts, 10 pounds. That's the other thing. Let's weigh it because people have been asking about that too. So let's weigh it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's weigh it.
Scale. I guess you got one, right?
Well, got that. Okay, there's the weight of the plane, 10.8, 10.82, and there it is hanging from the scale. Nothing supporting it, and that is the all-up weight. So we have our flight battery, our receiver battery. All we'd have to do is plug it in, and we could fly it just like this. 10.8. Yep.
Nice. And we're putting out 2,300.
2,300 plus. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, 230 watts per pound, and we had 18 pounds of thrust.
You won't outfly Ducia, but hey, you'll have a whole lot of fun with it at the field. I mean, it doesn't need anything else.
Nah, it's fine.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Single setup, the weight is, it's great. Ain't nothing else.
All right. Well, there we go. Hey, this is extra content for the Pilot Jam. I hope you guys like the work that we put into this for you, and make sure you smash that thumbs up button if you like the content you find at RCVR. Let's get back to the Pilot Jam.
And there we go. So that's the troubleshoot. You know, this is the behind the scenes stuff. This is what you guys don't normally see. And we decided to film it this time. We decided let's put it out there. So that's the kind of experimentation that I do, right? And it by the way, it's what informs my opinions about motors and power, right? It's not just the flying, it's evaluating the numerics, right? Assessing it, and then putting it in the air and trying it out. And frequently when it's new equipment, that's what I do. You know, it's very common for me to do that type of work. So I hope you guys enjoyed that little extra segment. I know we had a lot of fun tinkering with it, and I definitely wanted to take a sledgehammer to Dave's meter, because I think at the end of the day, I went and looked at the stats for that meter, and it is a name brand meter, and they had a 50 amp limit on it. So which is why, you know, so obviously it had more than 50 amps. There was some overhead, right? Because we were seeing 70 amps, but 70 amps was it. That was a hard stop. And that's why we saw the limit at 1500 watts. And it also explains why Dave was able to run his Vanquish at 3000 watts, because he was using 10S, which means, you know, 3000 divided by 3000 watts divided by 42, right? You're in that 70 amp neighborhood, 70, 75 amps. So that's why he was seeing, and he might not have even been seeing a completely accurate number. So with that said, I did go ahead and put in the description a link if you guys would like to get them. Let me turn these things off so they don't play again. I've got these in the description. I bought a 2-pack of these. That's a 200 watt or 200 amp watt meter. And I got a 2-pack of these for $22 off of Amazon. They do not come with the connectors. You have to solder your own connectors on. I use XT90s and I can always step down if I need to. But I figured for higher amp loads, I may as well, you know, make sure I'm there. But 200 amps. And as you saw in the video, we did pull an exactly correct, it was like 2300 and change, 2350 watts in change on the ESC with that motor and that prop. So the T motor performed exactly correctly. And I got to tell you, I was a little freaked out that the T motor that I'm out here making videos going, oh yeah, T motor's great. And then, you know, they're underperforming by 1,000 freaking watts. You know, it's one thing if you miss by 100 or whatever, you know, you can make an argument about batteries, about atmospherics, about dynamic versus static thrust. You can do all that stuff. But if you're off by 1,000, there is no argument for that. So anyway, that's that. Link in the description if you need to get a watt meter. And the moral of the story is get yourself a freaking watt meter and test your stuff. Because if you're going to monkey, and I say this to people all the time, if you're going to monkey around with your props, you need to put a meter on it and measure, which is why we did it. It's why we did it. We did not fly that 19-inch prop until we put a meter on it. Now, here's the bad news. The meter did not measure up. So we thought, well, the 19-inch prop's fine. It's only making 70 amps and 1,500 watts. So I can go out and flog this thing all day and I'm fine. And I wasn't. I could have been hitting up to 140 amps on 116 amp ESC. So that's the downside. This is why, you know, it's all about testing and understanding your numbers. But at any event, Dave has a nice meter now, 200 watts, 200 amps, and this one definitely goes up and measures all the way up to 3,000 watts. No problems there, and 200 amps. So get yourself a watt meter if you don't have it. And that is it. There's more coming, because this is part 1. Part 2 of this little saga is that Dave is going to go back and do some testing on his Vanquish. He's going to look at the wiring situation. He's going to double check his connectors. He's going to put it on the Vanquish, and he's going to put it on another motor to test another motor. And then he's going to come back and we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the concept of gear and accuracy and measurements and all of that kind of stuff. So this is part 1. Make sure you come back to the Friday Jam next week for part 2. We're going to get into a part 2 discussion on what Dave found out. So that's that on this thing. So I think I'm going to switch back to the desktop real quick, and I'm going to hit the next subject, which is the AM670 power test, which we just covered. We don't need to do that again. And then I'm going to show you some watt meter party tricks. But before I do, I want to do a couple things. Number one, I want to give a shout out to my patrons and thank you guys for supporting the channel. If you like what you see on RC Video Reviews and you want to help out, you can go to patreon.com/RC Video Reviews, and I have a tier for $3 a month. It's like a Starbucks if you want to help. So I appreciate it. I appreciate the patrons for helping out. And they're the ones that allow me to do this kind of stuff. I go out and get the gear, do the testing, try things, and let you know what I find and what works and what doesn't work. So I tip my hat to you guys. Thanks for sharing the financial burden with me. I appreciate you. Mr. Skyrider says, dang straight, I have the same one you just bought off Amazon. Yeah, they work. And they're, by the way, I did do some testing. I'll show you some testing in just a minute when we get to party tricks. So Robert says, look at the sag on that. Yeah, that's another thing, Robert, that we kind of talked about is sag. If you look at nominal voltage, a lot of companies use 3.7. Dave and I were seeing 3.6, 3.65, 3.6, 3.63, somewhere in there. So that's another cool thing to make sure you're monitoring is your voltage sag. That'll give you a good idea of where you are on nominal power output while you're actually flying under load. With the exception, everyone likes to talk dynamic and static. For those of you who like to do that, you go out and log the data and show me your log data. I can tell you that I have done the log data and I see about a 10% gap. So 10% delta between dynamic and static, meaning a dynamic 10% lower, static 10% higher. Well, not exactly that way, but you get the idea. There's a 10% gap. So if you were going to say that at some point, don't do it. It's 10%. And I've tested that enough to feel very comfortable with that. But yeah, sag, pay attention at 3.6, 3.65. That's the number Dave will be using when he does his watt evaluations now. 3.65 is his new number. And we also had independent confirmation on the sag value for the LiPos being pretty solid, or solid recommendation at 3.6, which is my new floor. So 3.6 is, I stand by that as a good number. Okay, party tricks. I don't see any other comments that I have to cover, so let's switch over, and I want to show you guys a couple of little party tricks for this. So let's see here. We're going to go to the overhead camera. Here we go. Party trick number one. I literally ran out of time, guys, so I didn't get a chance to finish this one up, but you will understand what it is I'm trying to show you. Party trick number one for a watt meter is that watt meters don't have to be just for brushless. They can also do things like measure torque and load on your servos. So what you can do is in this case, what I did is I connected a power supply lead to my receiver, and you can connect the watt meter, and all you do is put your servos on the load side. So there's the load side right. Is it going to do it? There we go. There's the load side on the right-hand side. So wherever your load's coming from, you put that over here on this side, and then you put your source on the other. And in my case, I set the power output to 5 volts, but that's not enough to get this going. So I need to put a BEC in line, and I need to find a way to connect the servos to a power distribution board. So I ran out of time. I simply couldn't finish the experiment. But the idea, just to give you, some party tricks, you can do things like measure your current and your load on your devices by using a watt meter, especially if you don't have a desktop meter like I have that shows you your current consumption. So you can do that right here on a watt meter. That was party trick number one. Again, I couldn't do it in full because I know above 5 volts these servos burn up. So I wasn't willing to just plug a regular battery in because that would burn the servos. So I simply ran out of time. That's all there is to it. I'm sorry. By the way, everything that we're talking about equipment-wise, I have affiliate links, so you will buy stuff with my affiliate links if you don't mind. That's great. If not, that's fine too. But I appreciate it if you use them because then the channel gets a little bit of a kickback. All right, now I want to show you another. Oh, and the kickback's not paid by you. It's paid by the retailer. Okay. Wanted to show you another little party trick that you can do with a watt meter. Now you're going to say, well, this is kind of stupid, John, because the iCharger tells you all that. And yeah, you're not wrong, but it's the concept, right? The idea is that you can use this for these types of functions. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my voltage up a little bit. I'm just going to plug the load in or the source in on the left-hand side. And you can see we've got our lights now with our source over here. So that's connected to my power supply, and that is sending 25 volts. So the meter's reading 29.96, and I actually think that's more accurate than my desktop power supply. So hold on a second. We can check. I mean, I bought the nice meter, right? We may as well put this thing to effect, put it to use. So let's go ahead and turn it on and see what's going on. So we'll take a measurement on this to see where we are in power. So 24.94, and that's reading 24.96 on the output. Let's check it on the input side real quick. So 24.96, it's very close. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line, but we'll check it just to see so you guys can get a look. 24.94. So no voltage drop through the device, at least nothing meaningful. We can put it in high res mode too. Look at that. Oh no, not that high. Not at 24 volts. I guess not. Yeah, that's right. It's 19,000. It's 19,999 counts. That's why it won't go over into 3 decimals. See, this is called doing your homework. All right. Anyway, 24.94. And we're seeing on the meter, not going to work now. There we go. 24.9695. Okay, that's good enough. Now we can plug this into the charger. Now this is the reason I wanted to show this to you, is because you can use your watt meters to assess more than just a brushless motor. So for example, if you had a charger or a discharger, for example, say you had a discharger like a Admiral, something like that, or if you had a LiPo killer, you can plug a watt meter in line to get an idea on what's going on in terms of amperage and your wattage. So all I'm going to do here is run a charge profile on this guy, and we're just gonna run it, and we can compare what we see on the meter to what we see on the iCharger. So 3.26232823 against 4.99. So the smart ones that love electricity, they're going to be like, well, that's because you have a higher input voltage and output voltage, and that's correct. So we're running 24.8 volts, and here we're only charging at 15. So while the battery is seeing 5 amps, we're only pulling 3.3, which is correct. This is correct. And by the way, I have a double confirmation because I can also see the current on my power supply over there on the desk, and it is exactly 3.3. So it's right. So the idea again is that the idea is that you have a load and a source, and you can put the watt meter in line to get an idea of performance. So it's not simply just for electric motors. You can use it in other facets of the hobby. And for that reason, I highly recommend, if you don't have one, get yourself a watt meter. It's one of those things that you really should have in your stash, especially if you're doing electric flying, because you have to understand these things. And if you're not using known quantities, like say you're speccing your own motor, your own ESC, your own prop, these devices become highly, highly important for that. So, and the other one other quick thing, I don't believe there's much of a resolution difference between a 200 amp and a 150. So for that and there's very little price difference. So you may as well just get the 200. I really fail to see any reason to get anything but the 200. So that's that. Fluke 87.5. This has been a real treat. These, if you'd like to treat yourself to a really good meter, they're expensive. I grant that, but I think by having the 87.5 on the table, we don't talk about the quality of my gear that I use for measurements. That's really not a topic of conversation at this point. So that's why I do it. Anyway, that's that on the watt meter party tricks. I hope you guys like that. I hope that was useful to you. If you don't have a watt meter, I just can't stress enough to make sure you go get one. Okay. All right. Let me see if there's anything I need to address in the comments. And if not, we'll move on. Looks like Mick from the UK went to sleep. He'll watch the rest tomorrow. Robert, Majestic RC, 7-volt difference on static. I do this on all my bigger planes, as you should. Good job, Robert. Cool. You can put a few more adapters on it. Right about that, David. Okay. All right, good. It's a little chit chat. All right, next we're going to do Q&A. So Q&A, let's see here. I have Q&A prepared, and we're going to bring up the blackboard, and there we go. Q&A is up next. So if you haven't sat through this segment before, what I'd like to do is go through the comments I get on the channel. If I see something that looks interesting that might apply to more than one person, I bring it in on the channel. And the very first comment came from Turbo Slag, and he said, I bought this exact, he's referring to the power supply I've been referencing during tonight's session. He said, I bought this same exact unit, found it to be better than average for build quality, performance as spec, and overall value for money. It's not as good as units from high-end brands, but it would be wrong to think that it would be at a tenth or more of the price. That's value for money. That's my equation. Couple of things to note: dull solder joints in modern equipment is normal. Reason lead-free solder. It just depends on a few solder process settings. I've load tested my unit and does meet the spec. In fact, I've load tested it for about 12 hours with no problems. So bottom line, the power supply that's on my desk, it's the Cocator. I have a link for that in the description as well. I use it still, and we're getting some independent comments about it. And I'd say Turbo Slag did a little bit of testing. Seems like he's familiar with this type of gear, and he concurs. Decent device. So if you need a benchtop power supply, check out that Cocator. It's a 300 watt unit, 10 amps, 30 volts. Very nice to have on the desk. I love it. Very, very good for the hobby. Very flexible for the hobby. All right, Dan Penry, 88.99 says the chargers, he's talking to the B6s. The chargers I have won't charge at a high rate on balance mode, even if you set to a high charge rate. On balance mode, the charge rate is usually only equal to the discharge rate of your charger. I don't even know what the hell that means because, the ones that I had, the B6, the 1 out of 5 that I had that did actually work, would charge at its current. I'm just tongue in cheek. The ones that didn't fail with that cell connector, they did charge at the rating that I specified. So I didn't have that issue. So I really don't understand what the heck that means. But my charger instruction says to always hook the main lead up first, then balance lead and disconnect and reverse or whatever. I don't care about rules like that. That's ridiculous. All right. You see, Tuyub Tom says, he's asking about the B6s. He says, ISDT Q6 Nano. I wrote back iCharger X6. His response, I find the price of the Jun C irritating because in the end, I can still charge one channel only for the price of 4 Q6 Nano. Yeah, this is the old buy the best, cry once. And I'll tell you, after buying 3 or 4 of these B6 Neos, I'm pretty freaking happy that I just moved over to iCharger. And I'm now finished monkeying around with goofball chargers at the field. Those iChargers are excellent. And I would say definitely well worth the money. So my answer on that one to you, Tom, this is just one of those deals where you can buy the lower spec stuff and try it. And if it works for you, great. If it doesn't, then there's a better option out there in the form of the iCharger X6. So I don't completely dislike ISDT, but I did try the Q6s. And it seems to me with ISDT, there's always something. Like on some of them, the fans didn't work. On the ISDT Q8 Air, the new one they have, the navigation would go crazy once I plugged in a 6L battery. Like the menu would just jump all over the place. And then on another one, I had some fan and case issues as well. So ISDT to me just isn't what they used to be in terms of quality. So as far as I'm concerned right now, iCharger is the charger to beat. I'm also interested in Hoda. I know a lot of you guys use Hoda. I'm interested in checking out the F6. I may grab that one just to give it a go, but I'm interested in checking out that Hoda F6. I know some people really do like those. All right, David Parker, our very own Dave. He said that motor and ESC prop combo is a perfect match for those 60 size airplanes. It worked really well. I liked it. Can't say it any better than that myself, Dave. I agree 100%. That AM600 combo on a 60-inch is just money. The combination of the ESC, the motor, even the prop, very, very, very good. So if you're out there building 60-inch electric 3D planes, you need a decent power plant, do take a look at the AM600. And that's all I can say. I've got 2 of those, and I've got 2 AM670s, and so far they've been on the money for me. So very happy. Nice comment, Dave. Let's see. RBB says, great video and plane. In your general opinion, what's the best brand of planes, Free Wing or FMS? Well, I mean, okay, so he's given me a scope, and the scope is limited in this question of Free Wing or FMS. And I would say that they both have quality products. I would say they both have quality products. You guys well know I've done a lot of work for FMS. I've done no work for Free Wing, but I've had some of their planes. And I can say without a reservation that FMS, I said what I had to say about FMS. Some of their models were really good. That Ranger, outstanding. The Rafale, the big Rafale, the 80 millimeter, beautiful, beautiful jet. The little Rafale was fine for 64 millimeter, very fun to fly. The Flash, yeah, it was kind of fast, a little handful. You got to do a little tuning on that one, but that could be made to be a fun little plane. The F-16 flew well in the air, not so good on the ground. I think the Cessna, the 182, that was a lovely little scale plane. So I think, good quality. They make good quality planes. Oh, the Pilatus and the Miss America. That Miss America was fast. The Pilatus is just beautiful. Pilatus, however you say it. Beautiful airplane, flew well, good on 4S power. Some of you guys like 5S power, two blade props, all that, fun, it's fun to tinker with that stuff. But I'd say the Pilatus did really well, flew really well. So they're good planes. Bottom line, they're good foam planes. If you're flying foam, the Cub, that was excellent, a very good plane. So if you're flying foam planes, you're not going to go wrong with most of the FMS stuff that I reviewed, and the stuff that I didn't like, I said so. Regarding Freewing, same deal. They've got their ups and downs. I've had the Freewing F9 Panther. That thing is just like woefully underpowered for a 64. It'll go around in circles, do a few rolls, but it's not very good on power. On the other hand, the Avanti, spectacular. So it's just, but I guess the bottom line is between the two of them, they both have very good production processes and generally put out good stuff. My biggest issue, as it always is with PMP planes, is the power. It's always about the power. So is the power enough? And in some cases, I think they've got it. Some cases, not so much. Some claim the FMS are built better and lighter in general. That's like the Ford and Chevy argument. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, you like Ford, Chevy, GM, whatever. It's that type of thing. I think overall, they all have their pros and cons. That's the way I'd end that comment. Okay, Yak X54. As always, straight line reviews, no crap, thanks. Favorite comment of the week. Thanks, Yak X54. That's the way you make a comment at RC Video Reviews. I like it. Trying to shoot straight with you guys. Trying to give it to you the best I can. Engids. P.S. Anyone thinking of buying a meter and you use it a lot, there's only one choice. There's only one choice. This is precious in the hardware analytics and in tools measurement category. This is precious. So the 87V or 87.5. Ingrid's nice comment, and he sounds like he knows a little bit about electric because he left some other comments as well. You should at least get one with true RMS for accuracy like the 87.5. Don't forget about that VenLab. That VenLab is spectacularly good as well. Very accurate meter, especially for the hobby. But good comment. I agree. I love the Fluke Precious over there. All right, let's see. Dundee Bushman 1939 says, does anybody know why I have OpenTX welcome screen after upgrading to EdgeTX? I don't know what it is, but I just get this question from time to time to time. And there is a video out on the channel, Special Files. If you search on the channel for Special Files, it will teach you how to control things like your splash screen, your audio prompts, and all the rest. So please do check out the channel for Special Files. Just because you flash the firmware, that does not necessarily change the contents of your SD card. You still have to go back and do that. So your splash screen has to be changed along with your audio prompts if you care to use Libby. If you don't and you want to stick with Amber, whatever. Amber's getting a little long in the tooth, you know what I mean? Libby's a little more modern. Next up, Danny FPV 0449 says, I've tried to migrate to EdgeTX. The conversion works, but my models never get converted to YAML. This is what I've been afraid of, and it's why I made the video. If you guys see this question, please help out. I kind of, when they told me they were taking the conversion firmware out of Edge, my head just hit the desk because I knew it was going to happen. I knew people were going to be like, well, I tried to convert from OpenTX. Yeah, you can't do that anymore. So you got to stop at pre 2.9 if you're coming from OpenTX. Keep that in mind. You guys see these questions out there, help inform, help teach, explain it. All right. Explain it. Let people know what's going on out there. And finally, last question. This is from Raffman4266. Is there any way to download an old version of OpenTX? Which, by the way, he asked it 3 times. You don't need to ask 3 times. Just once is fine. Spamming the channel is not the way to get attention. Just one time is all you need to do. And I reply back, yes, via Companion. He says, I tried that already, sir. Thank you. Very polite. But Companion keeps on downloading the latest version, OpenTX 2.3.15. I installed the OpenTX Companion 2.3.11, but whenever I try to download the firmware version, it keeps on reverting to download OpenTX 2.3.15. Don't know what to say about that. I'm pretty much out of the OpenTX business at this point. And I replied back, that's the only way that I know how to get OpenTX firmware. It's via Companion. They don't actually list the binaries for you to download. They compile it live and send it to you or they have pre-compiled binaries, but in any event, they send it to you through Companion, much like ELRS does these days. I've been telling people for a long time, it's time to switch to EdgeTX. I even posted a video, OpenTX being dead. This is why. For what it's worth, EdgeTX allows you to download every revision of EdgeTX ever made. You go right to the website. You can find all previous versions, download whatever copy you want. It's right there. So, my real answer is I'm not going to support OpenTX anymore. The bottom line is it's time to change. If you don't want to, that's fine, but I can't really help because I'm not going backwards. That's like OpenTX at this point for me is 5 steps backwards. So I'm out of the OpenTX business. So that's that. All right. I'm going to check comments one more time. Then we're going to wrap it up. Let's see. Let's see. Freddie, you're still with us. Freddie woke up, huh? Yepper. You're the best. Well, I appreciate that. Hopefully he's talking to me and not Freddie. I lost my hand grip strengthener. I'm not even touching that with a 10-foot pole, Fred. Let's see. That I would accept as precious, that meter, because it lives up to its reputation, not that horrendous radio. You call Robert hasn't seen Precious in a while, I guess. So that sounded, you have to pay attention to these things. It sounded like a call for help. That's all I can say. So I think we have to respond and respond to Robert's call for help and let him get a look. In fact, because it's been a while, Robert, we'll make sure we do the full frontal for you right there. There you go. Full frontal on Precious for Robert. There it is. It's been a while, man. We haven't played this game in a while. I'm glad it's back. Walter says, I have 3D printed Blero, like very fatigue, 1 meter 60. How big engine and ESC? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that. Get on Discord, Walter. Let's try and help you on Discord. I'm not sure how. I can't really understand what you're asking. So get on Discord. FT Blue Line says you do not change your splash screen. Yep, that's the obvious answer, right? Don't forget to smash that like button, says David. And Robert says, night all, just puked in my mouth. That's funny. That's funny stuff. All right. That brings us to the end, guys. That's Q&A. Now we can finish up in terms of what's coming up. What's coming up is, I think I mentioned to you that the 78-inch NG is gone. I'm waiting for a replacement airplane to show up in stock, and when it does, I'm going to grab that. We'll get some video done on that. The next thing is to really get out there and work on the slick because we're done messing with the power. We know where the power belongs on that plane now. With the 19.8 prop, it was just too much. 3,000 watts, 140 amps, way too much for that motor. So the 18.8 carbon fiber 6S 6200, that's the setup for the slick. That's what I'll be flying going forward. And we're going to try it for a while. I'll see how it goes. And if I decide at the end of the day it's not enough, I want a more power, bigger power plant, then I'll worry about that then. But we are going to stick with the 18.8 carbon fiber, 116 amp ESC, the AM670, and the 6200. By the way, the 6200 milliamp hour battery solved the balance problem. I was able to take some of that trim out. No more pulling to the gear. Fly straight as an arrow in knife edge. Just beautiful. So now it's time to go play with that plane and have some fun. I'm really looking forward to it. And same with the Avanti. The Avanti, I'm gonna keep bringing that Avanti out and having some fun with that. And I also know I owe an F-22 video. I think the next time we make it over to Larks when I get a cameraman, I'll bring the F-22 out. I don't really want to fly the F-22 at Southern Eagle because that's a really small field for that big of a plane. So I think I'll wait, but my intention is to go ahead and get that out at Larks as soon as I can and get some footage of that one. So that's what's coming up in terms of content. I do not have an airframe on order at the moment. So any videos that we do in the coming days will be bench-oriented videos. Just so you know, bench-oriented stuff. Maybe you're welcome. Haha bong. Okay. Well, Robert says another great show as always. Well, I appreciate that, Robert. I hope you guys like that segment. Let me know what you think about putting the video segment in the middle. I wanted to try something a little bit new, something to freshen up the Pilot Jam a little bit. And I thought you guys might like that, but some behind the scenes kind of stuff, right? Where it's not, I didn't put a whole lot of effort into polishing that one and making it production. That was more of a, just two guys in the field working on a problem. So if you guys like that kind of thing, leave me a comment after the video's over in the comments, not in the chat, but leave a note. Let me know what you thought of that. And if you liked it, I can do more of that. So I kind of like the idea of doing that kind of content and inserting that in the PilotJam. So hopefully you guys liked it. Great show, John. Great information around testing. Yeah, very good. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate that. And Bill says, hey, John and everyone, better late than never. Well, glad you made it, Bill. Glad you made it. Just in time to say goodnight. Hey, listen, I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. If your weather permits, get out there and fly something. And say a prayer for peace. It's needed. Let's put it that way. So say a prayer for peace. That's all I've got for tonight. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. Make sure you get out there and fly something. Take it easy.